Tonight is a special event. We're going to go and tell you guys the story of Wind Cave, starting at the beginning, through some songs that we've put together here and some that we've just pulled out of the old Wind Cave songbook. Now, the Lone Pine Rangers are these people up here, and any of you guys who join in singing, now you guys can be Lone Pine Rangers too. It's a very open group. No, and minimal annual fees too. Really reasonable stuff. I'm Ranger Taylor. This is Ranger Kaylee. We're going to be sort of leading you guys through this today. And from here, I'm gonna hand it off to Ranger Kaylee to start kicking this off.
All right. Tonight, we will all take a journey through time, an audible voyage through the evolution of music that has long echoed in the plains and hills of this region now known as Wind Cave. The Lone Pine Rangers, Ranger Taylor and myself, are going to share some of these stories with you through song. And in order for this to be a proper story, we'll need to start at the beginning. Long before this land was called Wind Cave, it belonged to the heart of the Great Plains. Stretching east to the Mississippi River and west to the Rocky Mountains, the American prairie covered 1/3 of the North American continent. A rich network of rivers and streams fed the prairie, creating lush grasslands for plants and animals. Among this ocean of grass, like an island from a calm sea, rose a giant massive rock and pine called the Black Hills. And at the base of these hills, on the most southwestern side of the mountain range, lay a vast prairie vista, and hidden within it, a small hole in the ground that blew wind. The wind here blows above ground as well as below, and carries the sweet notes of nature across the plains and beyond. Often you hear meadowlarks serenading the sunshine.
That's crazy timing.
Perhaps you've heard that song before, almost like a prairie anthem. There's so many meadowlarks here, and they sing in unison, and they're just wonderful. Or you could hear some male bison grunting as late summer drops hints of the approaching mating season. Sounds more like a bear, doesn't it? On warm nights, you can listen to the bats hunting for moths and mosquitoes.
Actually, there was a bat right now. I'm not kidding. It's really across. So keep an eye out up here. These lights might draw on some bugs. You might be able to see some bats right in front of us.
Excellent, yeah. And in the fall, September's song is that of the Elk's bugle. Once long ago, even the lonesome song of the wolves could be heard, resounding across the vast American prairie. This is the music of the wilderness, Mother Nature's soundtrack, and her orchestra has many talented players. The first people that came to the Black Hills lived in harmony with this music. They listened to the sounds of the wild and studied the animals that made them. Using resources from the land, such as wood and bone, they fashioned their own instruments and played songs to commemorate ceremony, war, and celebration. The sounds of drums and flutes soon accompanied the prairie orchestra, and music filled the hills. To these people, the Black Hills are sacred, and if you spend any amount of time here, you can probably understand why. Then in the 19th century, the plains started to hear a different kind of music. Homesteaders, hearing tales of the beauty of the West, began to travel to the hills in search of new ventures. They sang of the majesty of the landscape, the excitement of pioneering, and all of the interesting wildlife they saw along the way. Bison, pronghorn antelope, and flocks of birds frequented their lyrics. Here's a song you all may recognize, and I invite you to sing along. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where a saddle drum is heard, a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day.
stars, have I stood there amazed, and asked as I gazed, if their glory exceeds that of us. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Above these wildflowers, in this dear land of ours, the curlew I love to hear cry, and I love the white rocks and the antelope flocks that graze on the mountain slopes high. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day.
Some settlers were seeking a quick fortune in the gold rush that swept through the Black Hills in the late 1800s. In 1889, a family moved to Wind Cave with a mining claim to investigate whether or not there was any gold to be found in a small blowhole in the southern Black Hills. Alvin McDonald, their 16-year-old son, was the most interested in the cave, and day after day, week after week, he explored the passageways for crystals and formations. Eventually, when no gold was found, Alvin and his family decided to start giving cave tours. Now, he was a pretty dreamy fellow, as you guys can tell from this picture behind me. And the ladies were awfully fond of him. He must have led hundreds of people underground on routes that he himself had created to show them natural wonders such as boxwork, frostwork, and cave popcorn, all by the light of a candle. Unfortunately, Alvin's explorations were short-lived, for in 1893, just 4 years after his family had moved to Wind Cave, he passed away from typhoid fever. But his legacy of exploration lives on in his accounts of the cave that he left behind and in the hearts of those still exploring the cave today.
As I went down through the passageway, looking for the boxwork in the cave, and who shall bear the candle flame, dear Alvin, show us the way. Oh, ladies, let's go down
elephant's influence, Wind Cave became much more widely known and was accredited with national park status in January of 1903. It was the very first cave to ever be protected as a national park. Once attention had been drawn to the unique nature of the cave system, others thought it would be appropriate to preserve the integrity of the mixed grass prairie on the surface. And in 1913, the Wind Cave National Game Preserve was underway, and the great American buffalo that had once roamed wild and abundant here were reintroduced to their native plains. Oh, you thought the buffalo had always been here, didn't you? Well, you know what? The truth is that the buffalo were almost gone completely from the face of the earth. And it turns out, they're not even really buffalo at all. They're actually called bison. But I'll let Taylor tell you the story.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm an animal of mass and speed. I've been around for a long, long while. Out on the plains is where I feed. I've got horns, hooves, and a big old hump. I got a real thick coat that keeps me warm. But when I'm spooked, I will stampede. You better keep your distance to keep from harm. Pleased to meet you. I hope you guess my name. Guess what's puzzling you is the confusion with my name. Native peoples hunted me. They'd run me over hills in haste. Feed the village for the coming year. Not one thing did they waste. They used my hide to build their homes. Used my horns for cups and spoons. They used my bones for knives and tools. And my hooves, they turned to glue. Pleased to meet you. I hope you guess my name. Guess what's puzzling you is the confusion with my name. I used to roam 30 million strong. When the white man came, things changed. They killed me for my coat and tongue. Nearly wiped me out from the whole range. Now this part of the story gets a little bit sad. The bison were nearly totally gone. The only ones that were left were on zoos and private farms. But private citizens started to reintroduce bison to the plains. And we got lucky because one of the places that they picked was Wind Cave. Pleased to meet you. I hope you guess my name. That's what's puzzling you is the confusion with my name. One more time. Now we've grown back to the thousands. All right. Not as many as we'd like to think. Conservation and national parks, they brought us back from near the brink. Now some still call me a buffalo.
Buffalo?
But bison is my real. Always be, always wild, out on the plains. Pleased to meet you. I hope you guess my name. Bison! Bison! Pleased to meet you. I hope you guess my name. Bison! Bison! Pleased to meet you. Now you know my name.
introduction of bison to the plains came about at a time when a renewed sense of conservation and hope was desperately needed in this country. The Great Depression had caused many to suffer in a tremendous financial hardship, and money, let alone work, was hard to find. But in 1933, the government sponsored a number of public works projects to improve federal lands. The group of young men designated to carry out these projects became known as the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, and would be responsible for the positive changes in conservation methods to come. As more land was being set aside for national parks, more jobs were being created. The crews of men would build their own camps and cabins to stay in before tending to assigned projects such as digging tunnels, building bridges, pouring concrete, raising fences, and creating roadways. Earning just $1 a day for their labor, the CCC worked tirelessly to make our national parks both beautiful and accessible to visitors worldwide.
In 1934, we took a little trip to western South Dakota with a shovel on our hip. We took a little bacon and we took a little beans, and we met up on the prairie just outside of Hot Springs. We're the CCC and we dig a lot of tunnels, make more money than we did before we came. $1 a day, send home to our families. As we left Wind Cave, it never was the same. Got there, we built a camp for all of us to stay in. Quaint stony cabins with a chimney and a stove. Hard work and toil in the South Dakota sunshine. When we finished, all of us a brand new homes. We're the CCC and we dig a lot of tunnels. We have more money than we did before we came. $1 a day, send them to our families. As we left Wind Cave, would never be the same. When we came to Wind Cave, the stairs were made of wood. Everybody really knew that they weren't very good. We mixed a lot of concrete every minute we could spare, and when we finished pouring it, we had a lot of stairs. We're the CCC and we dig a lot of tunnels. We have more money than we did before we came. $1 a day to send them to our families. When we left Wind Cave, would never be the same. We built new roads to make parks easier to find, a place to go to take a rest and leave the world behind. Make the world a natural one, a happy place to be. National parks will never forget the CCC and we dig a lot of tunnels. Make more money than we did before we came. $1 a day to send them to our families. When we left Wind Cave, would never be the same. We're the CCC and we dig a lot of tunnels. We make more money than we did before we came. $1 a day to send them to our families. When we left Wind Cave, would never be the same.
Everybody!
One more time. We're the CCC and we dig a lot of tunnels. Make more money than we did before we came. $1 a day to send them to our families. When we left Wind Cave, would never be the same.
Woo! The influence of the CCC can still be seen today. By building roads and bridges to make remote parts of the country more accessible, more people could visit and enjoy the national parks. With an increase in visitation, more and more people were experiencing the American wilderness firsthand. People were coming from far and wide to soak in the sights and sounds of wilderness beyond their wildest dreams. Here at Wind Cave, there are many species that call the prairie their home. Eagles, bison, pronghorn, elk, mountain lions, badgers, rattlesnakes, bats, salamanders, bobcats, coyotes, porcupines, prairie chickens, turkeys, black-footed ferrets, rabbits, mice, and deer, in addition to so many other plants, animals, and insects. And they require this vast prairie land to sustain themselves. But there is one creature, above all others, that the prairie and all its inhabitants cannot live without. Whether it's for food, for shelter, soil aeration, or fresh grass, all prairie animals require this one creature for survival. Though they are very small in size, they are mighty in large numbers. And without them, the web of life upon the Great Plains would unravel. Behold, the prairie dog. Sure. Can you put it on?
Sure.
Okay. surprise that people come from all over the world to visit these charismatic hills. Like many of you, most of us rangers are not from South Dakota. But at one time or another, we too caught wind of the magic that takes up residence here in the vast entanglement of prairie and pine forest. And just like you, we long to be immersed in it. For many of you, the hills are an old friend, waiting to greet you every summer with sun-drenched grasses and wind-whistling pines. But for many of you, your discovery of this vast wilderness is just beginning. And we can only hope you come back to the Black Hills and visit in the years to come.
Take me back to the Black Hills of Dakota, to the beautiful mountains that I love. Lost my heart in the Black Hills of Dakota, where the pines so high they kiss the sky above. And when I get that lonesome feeling, and I'm miles away from home, I hear the voice of the mystic mountains calling me back home. Hey, come on back home! Take me back to the Black Hills of Dakota, to those beautiful mountains that I love. Lost my heart in the Black Hills of Dakota, where the pines so high that they kiss the sky above. And when I get that lonesome feeling, and I'm miles away from home, I hear the voice of the mystic mountains calling me back home. Hey, come on back home! Take me back to the Black Hills of Dakota, to those beautiful mountains that I love. To those beautiful mountains that I love.
From the Feldspar Cliffs of Yosemite to the swampy Everglades of Florida, to the dripping caverns of New Mexico, all the way up to the northern Great Plains, land has been set aside so that our children, their children, and all future generations to come can witness our precious planet in its most natural forms, to see the earth as earth intended itself to be seen, and to learn the many life lessons that wilderness is often so willing to teach us. Love, loss, and hope. These are the cornerstones of environmental preservation. We have seen species teeter the brink of extinction. Some have made comebacks, others were not so fortunate. But none were really left with much of a choice. The bison would have all been lost if not for a few passionate human beings who sought to keep them safe and swore that they would see them roam the plains wild and free once again. In order to protect what little true wilderness we have left on this earth, we must always remember that inside all of us is a voice for nature, our own voice, and our own ability to speak for those things that cannot speak for themselves. It is, after all, human beings that will ultimately decide the fate of the last wildest places on earth. And if we can come to recognize our responsibility as stewards of the land, and we can, as a civilization, deepen our appreciation for the natural world, then love and knowledge of these wild places will spread among us like wildfire. And with knowledge, we can save the world.
There's a cowboy I knew in South Dakota. face was burnt deep by the sun. Part history, part French, and part Lakota. He was there when Black Elk was young, and he'd tell you a tale of the old days when the world was wild all around. He'd sit out under the stars of the Milky Way and listened as the coyotes howled. And they go, ooh, 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 ooh. Now the pronghorn are gone, and the grizzlies are gone, the Oglala are gone, and the outlaws are gone. Red Cloud is gone, and Sitting Bull is gone, and the lion is gone, and the prairie wolf is gone. Well, he cursed all the roads and the gold pans, and he cursed the automobile. Said, this is no place for an old man like I am, in this new world of asphalt and steel. Then he'd look off someplace in the distance at something only he could see. He'd say, now all that's left of the old days are them damned old coyotes and me. And they go, ooh, 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 ooh. Now the bighorns are gone, and the foxes are gone, and the trappers are gone, and the mountain man is gone. Lakota are gone, and Black Elk is gone, and the ferrets are gone, and the buffalo is gone. One morning they searched for his teeth. He disappeared without even a word. That night, as the moon crossed the black hills, one more coyote was heard. And he said, ooh, ooh, just stop, sit, and listen to the music that nature is playing all around you. And you must know that a national park is nothing without its visitors. So, it's thanks to you guys that we exist.
Thank you all for coming tonight.